What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Marcus, and today I'm installing a few tidbits on the Ducati Multistrada. What I wanted to share was the installation of the radiator and oil cooler protection guards that go on the front of the bike, right behind the front wheel and front fender. This looks like it's going to be a very simple installation, but nonetheless, these are three pieces that come from Evotech. You got two for the sides and one for the oil cooler on the front. So I'm just going to do a quick demonstration, run through it, share this with you in case anyone has any questions or is considering purchasing this for themselves and they're curious as to how the installation would be. So let's get to it. So before we get started, there are many small pieces that come with this: screws, rubber grommets, and a few spacers. Hopefully you can get a good look at this. So there are like two of these, two plastic ones, a bunch of screws, and some rubber grommets that you will fit in the back of the grill. There are some round cutouts mixed in with the hexagonal shapes. You find those, you push these grommets in through the back so that the ring is all on top, and that's the first step you're going to take to prepare all of these for mounting. So the next thing we're going to do is loosen a few screws that will be replaced with some of the metal spacers. And the first one here is right above one of the radiator hoses, and that's a 4mm. Take that main screw out, and then we're going to be replacing it with this metal spacer that will provide a base for the bottom of the oil cooler. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you will need some sockets to be able to tighten this in place. And that is a 1/2 inch. Nice and easy. We don't need torque specs, just don't overdo it. All right, now we're going into the fastener on the other side of the radiator. Again, that's a 4mm. Just a single black screw. And again, replacing it with this new silver metal piece, which is just going to create a bridge or bracing for the bottom of the radiator cover. The 1/2 inch socket, tighten it the rest of the way. Again, just don't overdo it. Okay, so now we're starting with the side pieces. This is another spacer that goes on the front. There are the grommets. Hopefully you can see these pretty well. We're starting by slipping the two sides into the radiator covers. One thing I do want to note is that the instructions instruct one to remove these side covers before going through the installation. Now, my friend tells me that wasn't necessary, and I can see that that isn't necessary. So if you go ahead and take that additional step in removing all these side covers and some tidbits on the inside, you're going to regret wasting the time to do that because it's not necessary. These side covers will slip in here, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. The only thing I will say is that these rubber grommets stick out about 1/4 inch on the back side. So as you're slipping it in delicately, you want to make sure you're not catching the actual radiator itself with the rubber and basically ripping them out. They're there as spacers, so make sure you're as delicate as possible. And I'll try to demonstrate that here. And if you push it in the back with your fingers, you'll be able to get them in place without ripping the rubber grommets out, as I have here. And now you see these two mounting connections go right here where the auxiliary lights would go, which allows you to still mount the auxiliary lights in the future. So basically that goes in place. I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to move on to the next side. So now we're going to do the left side of the bike. Again, trying to slip it in without ripping out the rubber grommets, just like I did on the other side. And it could sit where you're able to mount this to the auxiliary light mounts here, 1 and 2, and that's in place. With the spacer here that's mounted to the front of the side grill, that creates the base mount for the top of the oil cooler. So both side pieces are in place. Rubber grommets are still appropriately attached. Now these aren't mounted in place with screws yet. They're loose because the next instruction has you place the center grill that goes over the oil cooler in place first before you tighten all these down. All the grommets are in place. Next thing I'm going to do is slide this up in place. Now I'm going to mount one screw in the bottom left corner. Take another screw, mount one here in the bottom right corner of the center grill cover. Now I'm just hand tightening it. This grill cover is flexible enough that if the holes aren't lined up precisely, you can just flex it a little bit. But as with all the other Evotech Performance products that I've purchased, the fit is very nice and precise. So there's not a lot of stretching or finagling to get things in place. Now the next thing I'm going to do is screw in a screw to this top part of the center grill cover that goes into side bracing. This part's a little tricky because I'm not left-handed, but I think I got it. Yep. Okay, that's in place. I'm only hand tightening things for now. And again, these screws here, I'm trying to do this underhanded so that you can see without me blocking the view. Hope you can see this. I tried overexposing a little bit. Have the bottom one in. So now I have both bottom pieces, both top pieces. Now what I have to do is get these two side mounts in. Now that the bottom one's aligned, hopefully the top one will slide right in. Success. Apologies for not being able to do this without blocking the footage, but there just is no other way. Thing is as tight as it goes. And that is it. Job done. The only pieces that were left over were these two black screws that were removed next to the hose connections and back. But these screws were replaced with the two silver spacers that act as a brace for the bottom part of the oil cooler grill. Let me take the camera off the tripod and show you how this looks from side to side. You can see here how everything lines up properly. You have the left side here. You have the bottom portion of the oil cooler is mounted to the silver braces on either end and then secured on top to the black spacers that protrude from the side grills. You can see how it is over there. I'll show you from the front of the fork. Perfectly utilizing existing brackets for the auxiliary lights here. No need to install additional hangers. Everything is nice and clean. Straightforward installation. Took me about 30 minutes, and it really shouldn't take that long. Just lining up those last two screws with my left hand was a little bit complicated. Otherwise, this is easy, and as I demonstrated, no need to remove the side panels at all. These can stay on, making the job quicker and easier instead of having to needlessly take apart parts that aren't really in the way. That's it. So let me know what you think. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to answer them. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one.